and welcome into this edition of the Earl Hall Show. Today on the show, I'm joined by Sharon Matthews Fortune, a powerhouse therapist, author, and speaker with over 20 years of experience helping people heal, grow, and thrive. Get ready for insight, inspiration, and real talk that can change your life. Miss Matthews Fortune, how are you doing today? Thank you for being on the Earl Hall Show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm having a marvelous day. I've been just anticipating the day that we were going to sit down and have this conversation. And I must say, I haven't been interviewed by many males. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean the book, The Truth About the Lies. Yes, I am male, and I'm glad that I'm able to do this interview and dispel all these rumors of lying and cheating men that are out, that are out here. This book tries to definitely call us out, but I think more so it tries to educate
Yeah.
women from a certain perspective. So I know this is going to be an interesting conversation, but what is the genesis of this whole project? The truth about the lies, what women tell themselves that keep them stuck with cheating men. And there's not that many of us out there anyway. But what is the genesis of this whole thing?
Well, as you said, I'm a therapist, and this book actually, Earl, the book really wrote itself because it grew from the work that I do with the women in my practice. I noticed that, well, the pandemic kind of started something because people had to come inside, and all of the little secrets that people were hiding and the maneuvering that they were doing got blown up because everybody had to go inside. There was a influx of women clients that I had during that time who were coming in because they were finding out that they were being betrayed. And what I noticed in working with them was a pattern of thinking, a pattern of self-deception, really. We were talking about what he was doing and what she was finding out about him, but we weren't doing any talking about what she was telling herself and what she didn't realize about herself. And I didn't see any books out there written, along those lines. So I thought, well, I think I need to write this book because it's going to have a further reach than I can have in my therapy sessions. And I needed women to know, to have a tool that would help them to develop a level of self awareness to how we deceive ourselves and the role that that plays in any type of betrayal, not just being cheated on, but any type of betrayal. So that's the genesis of the book. Yeah.
It's funny that it seems, with all of the issues between men and women and the differences between men and women and talking about cheating, it seems like to me, men are able to get away
Hmm.
with so much because the women will allow us to get away with it,
Yeah.
even when they know the truth.
That is so true. Definitely. And that's one of the real reasons. I mean, that's like primary why I
Mhm.
wrote the book because we do a lot of covering, women, and not all women, I don't want to generalize, but traditionally women are caretakers, nurturers, and kind of set the tone for the level of commitment in the relationship. We have more of a vision of the relationship than men typically do. So we meet and then we develop our vision and we try to fit him into the vision. So a lot of covering the truth goes on with women. We will rationalize, minimize, generalize, and not deal with the truth. And that gives the man a pass to continue to do what he's doing. Yeah.
Well, that's definitely true. I mean, I'll be 56 years old this year, but I remember in my late teens, early 20s,
Hmm.
exactly how I was. Young
Uh-huh.
guy in the military, United States Air Force, overseas, just feeling like I had my pick of the litter. Now, I think that a lot of men, justified or not, may feel like they have a pick of the litter,
Yes.
but I don't feel like women have that same advantage.
Well, she better not, because she'll be looked at through a different lens than
Definitely.
what he would be looked at through,
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the justifications that we'll use. I write about that in my book. I have a a chapter that's called One of the Lies that Women Tell Themselves is all men are cheaters. And therefore, why leave my cheater? Because all men are cheaters and I'm just going to go out there and find another cheater. So let me stay with the devil I know instead of, dealing with the fact that all men don't cheat, but the one that you're with may be cheating. So
Hmm.
yeah, we can't do the same thing because we will be judged, and the standards are very different for women. So we typically will stay and endure. I find it very different when men come in who have been cheated on by a woman.
Mm,
They're not
mm-mm,
as
mm-mm,
eager to
mm-mm,
fix things. Yeah.
mm-mm.
It's very different.
No, that's some biology there that, okay, we don't even need to discuss. It's like, mm-mm, no. It's one of the things to look at because I do know that all men don't cheat. I think that there comes a time from being a young man to growing.
Hmm.
Typically, it has been, around between 30 to 35 where men say, okay, all that needs to end. And I kind of need to find the one. But can I
Hmm.
interject here? Men at 30, 35, 40 years old are still looking for the woman with a low body count.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And that's a struggle.
Hmm.
And maybe even in the truth about the lies, it's like a woman may, for instance, just like men do, a woman may go from man to man looking for the one. But then if I know, if I'm pursuing you
Hmm.
and I see all these bodies,
Right.
okay, maybe you're not really the one. And that's what you were talking about, I believe, earlier about there's a different standard.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, that's very true. And if we expand upon that, then that's one of the reasons why she stays. Women stay for a multitude of reasons, but one of the reasons is she is not trying to add another body to
Okay.
the count.
Okay.
So if we enter into a sexual relationship, then you kind of stuck with me because I'm not trying to add another body to the count. So I may put up with more because I'm trying to look at this relationship as an investment and preserve what we have. And that leads to a lot of the things that I write about, like the settling and the compromising and the finger pointing and the dreaming and the manipulation and all that stuff, because she doesn't want to add another body to the count. That's a very key point there. Yes.
And in regards with men cheating, I'll never forget I was at work. This is 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And in the break room, and people were talking about cheating men. It was a group of women, a group of men. I wasn't actually involved in the conversation. I was turned the other way and I was eating my lunch. But I turned around and I said, I can tell you why men cheat.
Hmm.
When I tell you, you could have heard a pin drop and every last woman turned to face to see what I was about to say, it was just like that. Now, this is for a certain type of man. I'm not talking about the ones that are just out there to be out there and,
Yeah.
trying to get as much as they can get.
Yeah.
But I was looking at it from a perspective of someone maybe that's in a marriage, committed relationship or
Hmm.
whatever. And I said, if a man like this cheats, it's because that other woman makes him feel more masculine and
Uh-huh.
like a real man than the one he is with does. Because men are extremely emotional, even though people try and act like we're not.
Yeah.
And we take things to heart. And if you hit our ego hard enough, that'll be a reason. And
Yeah.
any woman can step in and
Hmm.
take at that point. So it's one of those things in a movie that I saw, I forget the name of the movie, but this goes into play too, women against women. And this
Yeah.
thing said in this movie, this woman is saying, very rarely does a woman strike at the heart of another woman and miss.
Wow, that's powerful.
Right.
That's powerful.
And this is an old movie too. It was a period piece, back from the
Uh-huh.
1600s or something. So, the powdered wigs and all that kind of stuff that the women would
Uh-huh.
wear. But how are women with women maybe highlighted in some of the things that you teach and some of the things that you write about as far as hurting themselves with one another?
Well, one of the chapters that I write about is She Means Nothing to Him. And in that chapter, I talk about how the narrative the woman creates will devalue the woman that he's cheating with. Now, in that chapter, I write that the woman that he's with, who, and I said, well, whose man is he anyway? If he's cheating, whose man is he, first of all? But the one who thinks she's the main woman will call the other woman his mistake. The
Such
woman
it.
who's being cheated on, the one who he's cheating with, will call the main woman his misery because he's miserable with her. And that's why he's with me. And then the one who he's staying with, she'll say, well, he just made a mistake and he's with her. And, that she's the mistake. And so that's the pitting against, they will compete, from that stance, they will compete with each other, whether it be directly or indirectly. They will then start a competition.
Okay, you started spilling some tea about this whole thing with women in competition over a man.
Uh-huh.
First of all, that does not generally happen with men because
Right.
we don't want the competition. We want none of the smoke, and
Yeah.
it makes us feel less than.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the movie She's Gotta Have It, way back from the 80s, right? And those three gentlemen, that's not the norm
Yes.
for men. But what you were explaining about women and the competition and the justification, how does this happen? I don't, maybe as a man, I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, it's the narratives, definitely. It happens because of the narrative. Instead of just dealing with the fact that he is cheating. He is a cheater. This doesn't fit into my value system. This is not what I had envisioned for a relationship that I'm in. So therefore, let me do something about that. She will then try to protect her investment.
Hmm.
You know, I said in the book that women, we typically start with the end in mind. When we meet you,
Hmm.
we can envision you being that lifelong partner. We've already went through the script.
Right, right, right.
We start with the end in mind. So it's easy to get into that competition. We become territorial and we have, staked our claim. And as we said, we are not trying to add another body count. We're going to make this work. So that's how that competition can ensue.
A lot of this sounds like it seems to me like just a willingness to capitulate to the scenarios that are placed before you and not have any self-direction on I'm not doing this.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goal of the book, though, because the book kind of reads like it's a self help book, but it reads like a novel because I talk about how women morph into character images of themselves. Now, in the work that
Mm.
I do in my private practice with these women, when they come in my door, that's not who she is. She brings the character image of herself, who's putting up with this, who's created a narrative that keeps her stuck in this relationship that she never intended to create. And through working with her, I help her to realize her narratives. I help her to realize what her values, her needs, and her boundaries are, and reconnect her to herself, the self that she left behind to go into this story as a character and play in this role. And when we do that work, Earl, it is beautiful. When she gets to that place where she realizes I have abandoned all aspects of myself to stay in this story, in this
Mhm.
relationship. And there's a better way to do this. And the book is not written to make women leave the relationship, it's written to make them reconnect with themselves so that they can make decisions from a place of feeling whole and complete, not fragmented and, broken down because of the
Definitely.
betrayal.
Well, when you look at, I mean, this whole thesis that we're on and
Mm-hmm.
discussion that we're in right now, and you look at the woman that is the woman he's cheating with,
Mm-hmm.
and then if that man leaves who he's with, which doesn't often happen, to be with that woman that he's been cheating with, that dynamic moving forward is already, in my estimation, due.
Yes, it definitely is. And I do write about that aspect of it because I say, the story that the woman who is the main woman will say is she's trying to protect, she doesn't want him to leave her. But I said, well, what if you do let him go? What if you do let him have this other woman that he's cheating with? Now, what is she gaining? Is she gaining a faithful man? No. She's gaining a headache because she's going to be very paranoid. She's going to have to go into double duty, over duty to now try to prevent him from doing the same thing to her
She's
that
gonna be
he was
looking at
doing.
all the signs that were there when he was doing it with her and cheating on the other one, and now she's
Exactly.
seeing those same patterns, and now she's,
Huh?
paranoid. I was gonna say
Exactly.
paranoid, but justifiably so.
Feeling a loss of control, and trying to control something that she can't control, which is his appetite for what he does. Yeah. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I've seen it happen all too often. He leaves. He goes with the woman that he was cheating with, and the cycle repeats. It's just kind of recycling the same dynamics over and over and over.
We can't leave here without discussing the fact, and this
Uh-huh.
is a fact, that a wedding ring on a man's finger is a draw to so many women.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that does happen. And I look at it also from the side that, it's a double-sided coin is not a deterrent. And it should be a deterrent because he can spin a narrative with that ring on his finger that will pull a woman in. And you are already starting at that point to abandon the value system that you say you operate from. If you believe in, fidelity in a relationship, then you can't start with being with a cheater. I say somebody else's man, husband, boyfriend cannot be your blessing. He just can't be.
And women are praying for the man to leave the wife and to come to them, and
Yes.
it's. I mean, it gets really messy. But
Yeah.
I know that through this book that you've written, The Truth About the Lies, it is going to bring some clarity to a lot of women, because a lot of women are in these scenarios if they so choose to be, right?
Yes.
And just to understand and know that there's a way out. Last question: why are women, and I'm generalizing here, obviously,
Uh-huh.
so afraid to be alone?
Because we were not conditioned to be single. And if you think about it, if we go all the way back to childhood, the little girl, one of the first toys she gets is a doll baby, right?
Okay.
What do you get? A truck,
A truck, a motorcycle,
a
something, a
motorcycle.
car. Yeah.
Exactly. We get a doll, and along with that doll, in the little girl's mind, there's then a boy, a man, or whatever. That's a family attached to that. So she starts acting like a mother.
Mm.
And the conditioning, we just have not been conditioned to be single. Single is looked at as a curse. Something's wrong with you. And
Especially as you get over 35.
yes,
You
exactly.
ain't married yet? Girl, what's wrong with you? And men
Right.
still at 35 are like, man, I ain't trying to get married.
Uh-huh. He got time.
I got
Exactly. Yeah.
time.
That's the ultimate, that's another one of the goals that I want to come out of for any woman that reads the book. I want her to realize that. And when I say single, I mean the state of mind of being single, not necessarily the status of being single, but the state of mind of being single, complete, whole within yourself without having to add anything to you.
Well,
I
you have to
want
be complete within yourself. No one else can complete you. It's
exactly.
impossible for someone else to complete you.
Yes.
You have to
Yeah,
come complete.
exactly.
Well, Miss Fortune, I definitely appreciate you being on the Earl Hall show today. I've loved this conversation. I was anxious to have this conversation today. I'm like, okay, this is going to be good with this interview today. I'm going to put the link to your book in the show notes so people will be able to click that and go and
Okay.
grab this book. Women can use it. Men can probably use it if they use it in the right way and
Yes.
not as a manipulation tool.
Yeah.
With that, but Miss Fortune, how would you like people to stay in contact with you?
Well, my website, sharonmfortune.com is the best way. There's a contact me link on the website. I have social media as well. You can always find me on Instagram. I just started a YouTube channel. I'm still
Love it.
developing the YouTube channel, and I'm on Facebook. So any of those modes would be fine.
Okay. Well, Miss Fortune, thank you so much for being here with us today on the Earl Hall Show. This has been my pleasure, most definitely.
Thank
And
you.
You're more than welcome. To you, the viewers, the listening audience, thank you so much for tuning in. And make sure you click the links in the description. Grab that book, The Truth About the Lies, from Sharon Matthews Fortune. And we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.